Greetings, one and all, and welcome to the first of the Christmas live streams. Now, today we're joined by some amazing guests as we look back on Christmas from 1986. Now, before we go any further, I want to say this is a dream come true. I've always had this desire to host a Christmas show with all the Christmas decorations up, and here I am. So I am absolutely loving this. Now, as I said, we have three amazing guests. So, everyone, please welcome from GenXToysGeek, we have Jody.
Greetings and salutations.
Greetings, Jody. Next up, another fellow from the same land as Jody, we have Chris from Chasing 80s Toys.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas.
Am I too early?
Not at all. And last but not least, from Reynolds Reviews, we have Luke Reynolds.
Hi, everyone.
Oh, glad you could make it. We were getting worried there, Luke.
Oh, yeah, almost didn't.
No. So, as I was saying to the guys beforehand, normally on a live stream, I do my best to get to each and every comment. But as I can see already, the comments section is just full, and we have so much to discuss and so much interactive content that I probably will not be able to get to all of your comments. And for that, I do apologize. Just have to bear with us that this is going to be very interactive, and it's just not possible to do everything at once. So before we go any further, I want to give each and every one of you guys a chance to just tell us about your channel and anything you have coming up. Do you want to go first, Jody?
Yeah, so Jody from GenXToysGeek. I just run a small little YouTube channel predominantly aimed at Generation X toys, so toys from the 70s, 80s, 90s, and their modern interpretations.
Awesome. And look, tell us all about Reynolds Reviews.
A very small channel, but originally it was meant to be dedicated to Star Wars content, but since I started YouTube, so influenced by other collectors, everyone on this show as it happens. So I generally look at Star Wars vintage toys mainly, but Transformers, G1 Transformers, Mask. The fact that my channel is called Reynolds Reviews and I don't really do reviews is a little bit misleading. But we've got to call it Reynolds Overviews maybe.
Right.
But yeah, just anything vintage really, and a little bit of modern as well.
Awesome.
But yeah.
Awesome. And Chris, tell us, what is Chasing 80s Toys all about? Although I suspect the clue is in the name.
Yeah, it's all about, it's not about Elf. It's all about chasing those 80s toys we love. And I'm very lucky to get to do this together with two of my best friends, Jeff and Scuba Pete. And we got some cool stuff coming up since I got those two on board. So, and I tend to work a lot together with this guy up here as we form our superhero duo, the Crazy Dutchies, and there's cool stuff coming on that end too. So
Fantastic.
Happy to be here, and thanks for having me over.
Oh, you're absolutely welcome. And before we go into the first segment, I need to pull up this comment right here from Gojitron. Thank you so much for the super chat. That is very kind of you. And he says, "What a fine group of handsome lads. Merry Christmas." Oh, Merry Christmas to you, Gojitron. Thank you so much.
Yeah, Merry Christmas. So,
our first segment, I'm going to run the intro and then we'll tell the viewers what this is going to be all about. Okay, so I said there, pick 3 gifts. And what that means is we're going to take a look at the Argos catalog, the toy section from 1986. And as we go through the pages, feel free to call it anything you want to take a closer look at, talk about, but don't tell the viewers what 3 gifts you would like from that catalog. And once we're done turning the pages, we can go back and we'll give our 3, 2, 1 most desired gifts. So in order to do that, I'm going to share a page, or share a screen, I should say. So I'm going to jump into this, and we're going into Argos from 1986. And we've got the full page, and I'm assuming you can see that.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not
Not
yet.
sharing it.
Are you seeing it now?
No, you have to add the application, right?
Yeah. Let me go back. See, this is the joys of live
It's all
TV.
live. It's all
Yeah,
live.
always something. Okay.
Can I just clarify as well, Dean?
Yeah.
Does it have to be 3 gifts that we still don't have, or
No.
can it be something we now own?
Here's the deal. It can be 3 gifts you wanted as a child, or it could be
That's
3
it.
gifts that you would like now, or it could be a mixture of both. Just
Perfect.
3 gifts that you have a strong attachment to from this catalog. And I think I see what I did wrongly last time. So if I try this now, is that
Yep.
any better?
There we go.
Perfect.
There we go.
Fantastic. So
Oh,
this
look at that.
catalog starts off with the sort of educational toys, which, whilst they were probably cool for their time, I'm assuming it's not really something that you would be looking for on Christmas Day. Would that be correct?
Yeah, there's nothing on there that's jumping out at me. I've got to be honest.
Not
Yeah.
even the robot, the Coleco.
Yeah.
No.
I think I did have a speak and spell though.
Yeah, Speak and Spell. That's, I guess for its time, it was pretty cool, right?
I think it was the robot voice.
Yeah, that was probably the only sort of redeeming factor of that toy. So I guess we'll skip on to the next page. Now, interestingly enough, there were no home computers or games consoles available in 1986.
Mm.
So, do you remember this year and wondering where those devices were?
So indeed. So I did have a NES and NES, and I went actually through the same catalog to prepare for this stream, and I actually wondered where is the NES or where is the other consoles? Oh, the only thing you can see is those little LCD little handheld games.
Yeah,
Which I've never had one myself, but some friends of mine had a few.
right. I'm just going to jump in here and say a big thank you to Connor Fuller for the super chat. He says, "What an amazing panel discussing my favorite topic. I love each and every one of these guys' channels." Well, thank you so much, Connor. That is
Thanks, Connor.
incredibly
Thanks,
kind
Connor.
of you. So these Tomy games, I always had my eye on these, but I don't believe I ever got the chance to play one.
Yeah, I remember having one of those. I don't remember a lot about them, but I remember having one, and it was just like a set of binoculars, one that you put them to your eyes, and there was a game inside. But
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you more detail, but I do remember having one. And the
Right.
game, I think it's a World Cup game as well, across the other side.
Yeah. Hmm.
They kind of look like VR glasses, like the Nintendo had that stupid VR things.
Yeah.
So basically,
Right.
what it is, it like you put it on your eyes and you have the buttons like here.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
That sounds like an awkward gaming experience.
Yeah.
It wasn't always easy.
Yeah. And interestingly enough, on this page, there are 2 gifts I received for Christmas 1986. One is the Screwball Scramble that I still have.
Oh, cool.
Although
Yeah.
one of the elements is broken, so I've since bought a modern one in the hopes that I can take the components from the modern one and somehow fix my old one. And the other game I got from this catalog was the Cluedo game, which I think as a family we only played one time, but I thoroughly enjoyed that one time. Anything
The
here
one
catching
I
your eye?
had was, sorry, the one I had was the computer battleship. Although I think ours was called Electronic Battleship.
Yes.
That we play. Me and my brother played a lot with those. It was actually pretty fun. The only thing which was not so fun about those, because you actually have to manually program in all your battleships. So you spend like each party, you spend like 50 minutes programming it in. And if you made a typo,
Right.
so instead of A3, you pressed A4.
Mhm.
You had to restart all over. You had to power it off, power it on again, and start from scratch.
I'm just going to jump in and say a big thank you to Anthony Whitehead for the super chat. And he has said, "I love hearing what you guys wanted for Christmas. Some of it is so similar and so cool." Well, thank you, Anthony. Very, very kind of you. So moving on to the sort of I guess we'd call these analog games. Aside from the ones I mentioned, anything here sort of grab your attention?
Not for me. Not for
No.
me.
I remember the football. I remember having the football game. I'm sure that you used to be able to move them up and down and then twist them as well.
Right.
I'm sure I remember having that. And at the feet, I think there's a little stick that pokes out, and as they spin, that's what kicks the ball. But
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. A lot of these games never really worked as they were meant to, and they were always a bit of a letdown. However, there were one or two that sort of exceeded expectations. Now, on this page, a lot of board games. So interestingly, there was no home computers, no games consoles, but a ton of board games. And this was round about the time where Trivial Pursuit was the hot game. And I had wanted that for Christmas in '86. But instead, I received the TV Times quiz game, which we never played. And as you can see here, we've got, I think it's Russ Abbott. It was the TV show Minder. We've got Joan Collins, Margaret Thatcher. Is that Bette Lynch from Coronation Street? Muhammad Ali, Terry Wogan, and Roland Rat.
Yeah, Roland Rat.
Yeah. Some of these games look interesting. Like I always did fancy Ghost Castle.
Yeah. There's a lot.
I actually had Ghost Castle as a kid, and it's actually a really, really cool game. What I especially loved about Ghost Castle is basically you drop a marble down the coffin on the top, and the marble is actually a glow-in-the-dark little skull with a little metal ball inside it. I just love this game. Like it has a lot of play features. It has like traps, an axe that falls down, and it has secret passageways. It's a really, really fun game.
Great artwork as well, and it's called Spookslot for those who wonder what it's called in Dutch.
Yeah, there's actually one comment I need to get to if I can find it. Let me see. It was from Kieran. Kieran was saying it was still too early for home computers, but no, because back in '82 we had the ZX Spectrum and the Commodore 64. It just seems that home computers kind of dropped off the face of the earth around about the mid '80s for whatever reason. But yeah, we definitely did have home computers prior to '86.
Atari 2600.
Ataris. Yeah, I had an Atari 2600. I think I had an ST as well. I'm not sure what years they were, but
right.
Atari ST, I think.
Yeah. Another game that has always been there throughout the decades was Mousetrap.
Yes.
And this game itself, I think the game was rather boring. The fun was the sort of 5 seconds it took for the trap to work and send a little man diving into the tub and causing the trap to fall on the mouse. I mean, it was the weirdest game.
The trap to work because it misfired a lot.
Yes. Yeah.
You used to get stuck halfway down, I remember.
Yeah, I think it was a good idea, but never really worked that well. And Game of Life, I still see that in my local Rite Aid have a modern version of this.
Yeah, we've got the modern version. It's actually quite good. I never played the '80s version.
Right.
A lot of these games are still around, like Risk. Ghost Castle is also re-released in a new set.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm sure Hungry Hippos is still around.
Yeah, they've been modernized and they don't work anywhere near as well either. And they're smaller. They're a lot smaller. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess we'll move on to the next page.
So before you move on to the next page, another game I had was Bedbugs.
Oh yes.
Which was weird. It was one of the few games that actually had a little electric component into it. Because there's a little motor inside it, kind of like, which makes a really annoying sound, kind of like the kind of Star Wars vehicles.
Yes.
So basically what you have is the bed surface vibrates, and you have all these plastical bed bugs which jump up and down. And you have to use this huge tweezer to try to grab as many bed bugs as you can.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess for its time it was quite quite spectacular for a kid to see an actual bed that was vibrating and shaking. But obviously nowadays, kids wouldn't thank you for receiving that.
Yeah.
This has got some interesting stuff. Mr. Pop, I remember playing with. I didn't own it, but I think at school someone brought it in one day. It was all right, I guess.
Yeah, I remember that one. Definitely remember Space Attack. Definitely.
Yeah,
I think Retroed showed that on his channel recently.
Right, yeah, that's a really cool game. Now, Domino Rally was an interesting one because I know that I had a couple of sets of normal dominoes and I would set them up to knock them over, but to get an actual set with ramps and chutes and things was pretty cool. But I'm sure it would get boring pretty quickly, though.
So me and my brother found actually an alternative use play value in the little dominoes, because you play with it once, you take it down, and it gets quite boring. But what we used to do a lot, because especially like back then, you had like Transformers with the spring-loaded guns. You had Playmobil with the cannons from the Pirates. You had the Lego cannons. So you had a lot of spring-loaded missiles and spring-loaded guns. So what we used to do with dominoes, we actually built like a castle or a little fort on each side, and we grabbed all the spring-loaded toys we had, and we just started firing at each other's castle.
That's fun.
Yeah. I got to say, I've never heard of Build a Better Burger before.
Never.
No, that's a new one on me.
Yeah, although Pop-Up Pirate still exists to this day.
Yeah, I was always too nervous to play Pop-Up Pirate.
Yeah.
The anticipation would kill me.
Now, this looks interesting. Crossbows and catapults.
Yeah.
I never had that. I do remember it, though.
Really? Yeah, I remember it. And a game that I've never actually played, but it did look interesting on the TV commercials, I remember. And now, Test Match is a fantastic game, and this actually exceeded expectation. I remember playing with this, and it would have been actually the Christmas holidays of 1985. Someone brought this into school on the last day of term, and I could not believe how well this game worked. Normally, these sort of
a cricket fan.
Yeah, but normally these kind of games, they never worked as intended. This one really did work, and I was just blown away with how well it worked. But sadly, I didn't get enough time to tell my parents, oh, I'd love to get this for Christmas, because obviously all the presents had been bought in advance, and I never actually owned it, but I did play with it, and I thought it was one of the greatest games I've ever played, actually. Now, Cup Final looks like a poor man's version of Subbuteo.
Just going to say that, yeah.
Yeah. Although in saying that, those figures actually kick, I believe.
Yeah, I think I actually had that one.
Yeah.
What you actually have, you have a little base, and the little figures actually on a little spring.
Yeah.
You place the ball on the base, and then you pull back the figure, and the spring-loaded action actually fires the little ball towards the goal.
Okay, that's definitely an upgrade on Subbuteo. Now we're into the Lego, so obviously Duplo was for the sort of very young children, and then the basic sets. I guess I'm not sure if it was called Lego City back then, but that's what it was in essence. These are pretty cool, but I notice here this police one has light and sound.
Yeah, how cool was that?
Wow.
Yeah. I'm actually curious, number 19, how much that would have cost. Wow, £7.75. And it took one PP3S battery. I'm not familiar with that
I think
size.
that's a little button cell battery.
Okay. Yeah, I guess it would have to be to fit inside the Lego. Yeah.
The light and sound feature was actually a little standalone block, not like with modern Legos light and sound, where you actually have a decent battery pack and wires.
Yeah.
So it was actually a little standalone unit you put on top.
Oh, pretty cool. Prior to, well in advance of 86, I did have a Shell gas station as a kid. I'm guessing it might have been like 1980 or something. It was pretty cool. But by 86, I guess castles were a big deal. And I missed out on these.
Oh, yeah.
I was never into Lego when these were doing their thing. Do you guys have these?
I have it right
Yeah,
now.
I actually had the big castle, the 6080, which is now on screen. That was actually a really cool set because it actually had a drawbridge, but also you can raise and lower the gate. This was one of my favorite Lego sets back then.
Wow.
Yeah. This is so cool.
Yeah. Now, the train sets look really cool as well, actually. And is that the power pack you were referring to, Jody?
No, that's the power packs is a modern day Lego thing. So that thing was just like normal Lego train sets, which is like it's just a transformer with a little either lever or button switch to increase the power. I didn't have the trains myself, but my dad's girlfriend, her kids, they were a bit older than me. They actually had a train set. So whenever we went over to my dad's girlfriend, we were actually allowed to play with the train sets of her kids.
Cool. And this is a fantastic looking set here. Really cool. Now, this Technic set appeared, I think, every year since probably the early 80s. This was always in the catalogs, and I always wanted it, but never did manage to get it. Although I did get this set up here. This, I guess it's like a dune buggy type thing, which I still have to this day, actually.
Cool.
But this was the one that I really wanted because it had like a working drivetrain and gears and whatnot. Really advanced.
I remember the commercial quite vividly. Yeah, it had a working steering wheel and everything, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was never allowed Lego in '86 because I was 7 and it just got lost and never got built and just got lost everywhere. People stood on it and I was never allowed it.
Right. Now, the space Lego had become much more advanced than the space Lego that I played with by '86, but some of these sets look rather cool.
Oh, yeah.
And the ones I had were pretty basic. It was all just really gray bricks. And, of course, those yellow canopies, but this one is just full of really cool looking components, and of course the black spacemen. So for me, my Lego spacemen started out being red and white, and then I got a few yellow ones, and I believe I got one blue spaceman. But of course, as the years went by, I was no longer playing with Lego, and I certainly wasn't playing with it in '86. So ready for the next page?
Bring it on.
Okay. So Bolton build looks like a lot of fun, actually.
Did we have that, Jody?
No, I've never seen Bolton builds. I've seen constructs when I was a kid, and I think I had 1 or 2 sets of constructs. I don't know if Meccano was still around or some other versions of Meccano back then.
I think so.
Bolton builds, no clue.
No idea about that. But I did have some Meccano in the very early '80s, and this robotics looks pretty cool as well.
Yeah, never had it, but looks so cool.
It looks like you could sort of program, or not necessarily program, but it had features you could activate, which is pretty neat.
Yeah, I do remember that, but again, it fell into the category of Lego in our house.
Right. Over here, some very sort of basic organs for kids to hammer away at. Dial design, I was going to say, sounds like a rip-off of Spirograph, which is also featured. Spirograph, really cool, and obviously still exists to this day.
Yeah.
Down here, I actually had this electronic set. And if I remember rightly, the cassette had the voice of Johnny Ball.
Right, okay, yeah.
Talking you through each little experiment you could do. And I think, as I've said in probably every or back in the Iconicon live stream looking at catalogs, I was never allowed a chemistry set. I just couldn't be trusted.
What can go wrong?
Oh, I know.
What could go wrong? It's
Yeah.
just-
The microscope, I'm assuming it wouldn't be a particularly powerful microscope. Again, it comes with a cassette, and I'm looking here, and that is definitely Johnny Ball. So he was, I guess he was a sort of children's scientist on the BBC.
I think did he do a show? Did he do a show called Johnny Ball Reveals All? I remember something like that.
Quite possibly, yeah.
I'm sure it was something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And down here, Mr. Frosty, again, something I always wanted, but in hindsight, probably a good thing I didn't get it, because by all accounts, this did not work at all.
It did not. I can tell you first-hand, Dean, it did not work. I remember trying to turn the handle to get the ice to crush, and it just jammed all the time.
Yeah.
It never worked. Yeah, we had one.
Wasn't it essentially just like a cheese grater?
Basically, yeah, and it was sort of plastic as well, and it just weren't strong enough to get through the ice, and yeah, it was terrible. It didn't work anything like the commercial.
No, and of course, Play-Doh was something that my mum and dad did not like me using, because I would always drop it and then step on it, and it would get trodden into the carpet, and just made a complete mess. But yes, I guess we can go on. So we're still waiting to get to the real boys' toys.
The cool stuff.
The cool stuff is correct. This is not what you would call cool stuff. Crayola,
no,
chalkboards.
not for me.
No,
nothing jumping out there.
Not
Knitting
at all.
machine?
Yeah. This one. Oops. This is Strax Magitrack Fantasyland. It looks like it's for very young children, so probably not that cool. But the Stomper Speedsters Twist Track Challenger set.
That looks cool.
It does look
It
cool.
does look good. I don't remember much about it, but it does look good. Yeah.
Yeah. Now I'm trying to remember about the thing with Stompers and Rough Riders. I remember having an A-Team van that had its own gear stick coming out the roof, and it could be used to activate two-wheel drive, which was pretty fast, or four-wheel drive, which was slow but could get up any hill you put it in front of.
Yeah, that does ring a bell now you've said that. Yeah, I remember. Wow. Did they do a kit car in that as well?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah, I remember.
And it also had working headlights.
Right.
And this is another one, Stomper Action Track Set. So these are pretty cool.
Weren't those Stompers, weren't those like little 4x4s with foam tires? Something reminds me of that they actually had foam tires rather than rubber tires.
Well, the 18 one I had definitely had really heavy tread rubber tires, I remember. But yeah, those were great. But down here we have a pretty impressive looking 4x4.
I do remember Bigfoot. I didn't have one. I had friends that had it. I do remember that. Yeah.
So I'm assuming these levers can activate different drive trains or something. Yeah. And then, of course, the Matchbox Streak Racing, which glows in the dark.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool, yeah.
I remember being a fan of anything that was glow in the dark back then. And I would have loved this, but I think by the time 86 came round, I was probably too old to be playing with cars like that. But that's a really cool looking set. Of course, Skeletrix is the champion of slot car racing. I loved Skeletrix.
Yeah, I remember having Skeletrix.
Yeah, and a set of Corgi cars.
Corgis.
Very sort of generic looking set, but still a pretty nice gift box to see it like that. Over here we've got Escort XR3i racing, which is very cool.
Yeah. In fact, I remember it was my brother that got a Skeletrix set, and it was called I'm sure it was called the Mighty Metro set.
Oh wow!
It was advertised with the Metro, and the second car in the set was an Audi Quattro.
Oh wow!
So a far better car.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it's advertised with the Metro, and the car that came with it was far better. I got the Metro, and I got absolutely rinsed every time we played. I was never allowed the Audi.
and of course Thomas the Tank Engine, but this is like the classic Hornby set.
Ring set, yeah.
I never actually had a proper train set as a kid. Did any of you guys?
No.
No, trains work for me.
No.
I actually had them. I think that was either my mom's or my dad's. Probably my dad's. So they were real back then. They were already really vintage train sets.
Right. And then we have a Thomas the Tank Engine playmat. So hopefully this next page will give us the cool stuff. Yes, we're there. So these power machines, I don't recall these at all.
No.
Oh no, yes I do. Now I've seen the claws coming out of the wheels on the sort of truck. I do remember that.
Wow.
Yeah.
I do remember that as well, where the tiger claws came out of the tires. I don't know if I had one or if I saw a commercial on it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool though.
I do remember that. I'm sure they retract as well.
Yeah.
What's that?
Rats. Does that stand for something? Robot Anti-Terror Squad, perhaps?
Yeah.
Is that?
Something like that. Yeah, Terror Squad.
Wow. Pretty cool.
Looks cool.
Yeah,
never seen them in the Netherlands. No.
Never seen them before. Zoids.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I remember Zoids.
We
Again, never had them, but I remember they were very popular.
Right.
They're substantial, big. Build it together like this one. So cool.
And this is a very cool thing. This is the Mad Masher.
I remember those. Yeah.
That's huge. Yeah. But this Mad Masher looks interesting. I like the look of this. And that's a pretty significant discount. So the suggested retail price was $27.95, and Argos were doing it for $17.95. That's not a bad deal.
That's a good price. Yeah.
So we're looking at Masters of the Universe now, but it's the Evil Horde. This again was after my time, so I'm not familiar with really much of this at all. So by all means, share your memories of this stuff.
We got slime for the first time with He-Man, and that came with the slime pit you see there in the corner. And it's I have some vintage slime from the 80s still in here, and it won't work anymore. But but that was great, and I got the slime pit a year later, and took it to school the next day because you were allowed to take in your gifts you got to school the next day, and I horrored everybody out with the slime coming through that thing. That was fun.
Now, I'm just wondering, if that stuff were to spill on a carpet, would it get stuck in the carpet? Or?
Yeah. It tells you not to use the slime on hairy figures like you have Grizzlor.
Yes.
Or you had Mossman. You better not use it on those figures. And
right.
You can guess what we did, right?
All I can remember is still the nasty smell of that slime.
No, it's great. Love it. It still smells the same as, it's still the same scent as many good years ago. So amazing how it's like good wine. This.
Yeah. I'm just jumping ahead. I need to bring up from Boba Hicks. Thank you so much. Vintage Motu Slime. He loves it. Well, thank you so much, Boba Hicks. Very, very kind of you. So the Fright Zone. Any memories of this?
I didn't have this Fright Zone. I have it now, later. I didn't see it around at the time. Not many of my friends. Most friends had the Grayskull set, and if they had a second set at all, it would have been Snake Mountain. So But it's a great set from the front to display, but there's not much happening inside on the other side.
Yeah, and figure-wise, not a great selection, it has to be said.
Goldilocks. Modi-Look was fun though. You can take
Oh,
it
yeah.
apart and build it together in whatever you want. So I remember
Yeah.
this guy pretty good.
Although looking at the prices of the figures, we're talking about £3.45, which is
Oh, if
Crazy.
only. If only.
Modi-Look. Yeah,
Give me a DeLorean.
yeah. And
No,
so
I
that,
remember playing with vintage Motu, but we didn't have a huge amount of it, but we did play with it a lot because my cousin used to have everything vintage Motu,
Right.
so we often spent a lot of time at his house. I don't remember playing with the Horde a huge amount, but he had most of the sort of what I call the original figures, if you like.
right.
We played a lot with those.
Yeah. And down here we have the Rambo figures and vehicles. I initially thought that's quite an odd thing to have toys relating to an R-rated movie, but apparently there was a cartoon also at the
It
time.
was, yeah.
So I guess that makes sense. The
Did
figures.
we get the cartoon here, Chris? Because
No,
I've never
never
seen
seen
the
it.
cartoon.
It wasn't on Sky Channel. I didn't
Yeah,
see it.
I wasn't aware there was a cartoon, but the figures are, I don't know, they're not that great in my opinion.
Yeah, again, I never had any, but I did have friends that had some.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's that one because I'm not up on this line, but I remember there was a Rambo figure that had a huge rocket launcher for his show, and I always remember thinking that was a really cool figure. I think he had maybe like a cut off sort of hoodie on, or like a white hoodie with sleeveless hoodie. Yeah, I'm sure there's something. I might be wrong, but I'm sure he had a
Right.
rocket launcher. I remember thinking
And
that was pretty cool.
interestingly enough, these Rambo figures are actually £1 more expensive than the Motu figures.
Really?
And I
Wow.
think much better value for money with those Motu figures.
Yeah, that's probably what I would have gone for as a
Yeah.
7-year-old.
Yeah. So now we're into the good, really, really good stuff.
yeah.
So this
Oh yeah.
Sectors, I have no memory of these whatsoever.
I think I had one, and that was where it started and ended for me.
Which one did you have?
I had it was only a figure as well. It wasn't a creature or anything. It was the blonde-haired guy on the far right as you look at it. I remember having him. I think I was severely underwhelmed because I don't remember getting any more.
Yeah, and I'm just going to jump in here because I think Luke has a fan. Well, thank you, Nick. That's very kind of you. It's because
Thanks,
Luke
Nick.
Rocks and Jackson's best bud.
Yeah, absolutely. Hello, Jax. Hope you're watching, bud. Don't know if it's a bit late for him.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Nick.
Cheers,
Very,
Nick.
very kind. And Thundercats. Now, I have a very strange memory of Thundercats in that I absolutely watched the cartoon. I loved the cartoon.
Yeah.
I would even play act Thundercats in the garden. I remember my dad had made me a sword that I would pretend to, and I'd be running around the garden with the sword, but I never had any of the figures.
Yeah,
I got. I don't know why or who gifted it to me. I definitely would have not have added it to my Christmas wish list. But I actually got Lion-O and I got the two kittens. Whatchamacallit and whatchamacallit, the twins. That's the only Thundercat toys I've ever had.
Yeah. Very.
Yeah, growing up, we had lots of Thundercats, and it's strange. I remember having most of the figures. I'm not sure if we had the Thunder Tank, but then as an adult collector, now I have no real attraction to them anymore, which is really strange because we did have a lot of them as kids. They're not a line I really look at anymore. Which is quite strange, I guess.
The cartoon was great.
The problem also with the whole line that's all the figures were out of scale, right?
Yeah, they were big figures, and obviously, I mean, you look at the Thunder Tank there. You know, one figure in it. And I remember having the sword as well.
So that sword was £3.95.
Wow. Don't look on eBay for them. Don't look on eBay for them at the moment.
No.
Crazy money.
Yeah. So now over on this page, something we're all very familiar with.
Scott and T-Bob.
So, interestingly enough, This is all of Wave 1, except there is one vehicle missing, which always seems to be the case in these catalogs.
Is it
I know which
Firecracker?
one.
Yeah, Firecracker.
And Condor, where's Condor?
Condor, on
Condor
the-
is perched
up there.
up there.
Oh, he was okay. I missed that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So this was, as I've said many times, my last ever toy line that I engaged with as a kid. And just seeing this page just brings back so many memories, which are somewhat bittersweet because on one hand, I loved Mask, but on the other hand, I knew then that I was coming to the end of my days playing with toys.
It's great.
So
I'm looking at the same page right here. I have it here.
yeah,
I'm looking along with you. It's amazing the way they displayed those toys.
Oh yeah,
wow.
it's a beautiful sight, and the fact that they even used a different color of sand to emulate a lake for the Gator's boat to be on, and Piranha, of course. It's wonderful display. And just curious, number 13. So Boulder Hill was costing £28.95p.
Get out of here. Really?
Back then was actually quite a lot of money still.
Yeah, it's true.
Considering, well, then again, Rhino was £21.95.
Can I just be really smug for a second, Dean?
Yeah.
I actually managed to get a complete Boulder Hill for around £45, so not that much more than that.
True, that's a fantastic job.
I've no idea how I did it. I remember I got the nucleus of the set. I bought it incomplete from eBay, but I got the nucleus of the set. There was maybe half a dozen pieces missing. £15 off eBay, and then I managed to complete it through Facebook groups and got everything else I needed for around £30. So give or take a few pounds, 45 quid.
Oh, fantastic!
I was amazed.
And just looking here, that the price of Condor was £4.45, and I remember buying that with pocket money I'd saved up.
Wow,
it's not fair.
Yeah. So Condor £4.45, which meant Piranha was how much? £5.95.
Good price still.
Got to pay for the sidecar.
Yeah. Everyone's favourite, the Thunderhawk 15 was £8.95. Wow. Crazy.
It's beautiful. I remember getting the Condor and the Thunderhawk along with Scott and T-Bob during a holiday season the year after, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
And that was amazing.
Oh yeah, it was. But even now, Boulder Hill is a huge play set. But as a kid, it was the biggest play set I'd ever seen in my life.
Yeah, it is big.
Yeah, Boulder Hill, I actually only got 2 playsets ever. One was Boulder Hill, and the other was the TMNT Sewer playset. But yeah, I love Boulder Hill. It's such an amazing playset.
Yeah.
But it's freaking huge.
Yeah.
Substantial footprint.
Yeah, it is huge.
And that's, partly one of the reasons I've not looked at acquiring one, because of the size of it. I would have nowhere to display it. So
I'm sorry, Dean. I'm just looking at. I'm sort of spotting some of the comments as they scroll up the side of the screen. Christian from Smuggler's Canyon is just sort of converting the cost of some of these play sets. He said the equivalent today, £28.95 for Boulder Hill would be £90 today. So yeah, quite interesting just to see what the equivalent is.
It's interesting, because I think the current Motu Origins Castle Grayskull is coming in the US, I believe, sort of $70, $80.
Yeah.
So UK would be what, sort of 65?
Yeah, you can get it in the UK if you shop well for around 70. Standard is around $79.99, but if you shop well, you can get it around 70.
Cool. Okay.
If Rachel's watching this,
if you look at it like that, Luke, if Boulder Hill was £29, which would be, according to Smuggler's Canyon, £19 today, which would be about €105. So Boulder Hill actually didn't gain that much in value over the years, because I think I got a complete one for Tony for €150.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Not
Oh.
too bad, I guess. Yeah, I suppose when you look at it that way, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but now here's the thing, though. The components of Boulder Hill, for example, the lines for the gas pumps, those go missing pretty easily. I understand. And are there any other?
Actually, sorry, Dean.
No, are there any other components that are really hard to get for Boulder Hill?
If you lose the mechanism, the ratchet mechanism of the pumps or the pumps themselves, they are pretty hard to find. The hoses, yeah, because it's rubber, they degrade over time. But there's so many repro hoses out there, so they're very easy to replace.
Right.
I had to use I used some GI Joe. That's the only thing actually that's not original on my Boulder Hill. I used some GI Joe cables for Ripper, the line that connects to his jackhammer or whatever in his backpack. I had to buy 2 Rippers and take the line off them and then resell them separately.
I did the same thing. And I bought my Boulder Hill very cheaply incomplete, and I need to chase all the parts down. There's still one part I'm looking for, and that's one of the rotors that goes underneath one of the tanks in order to make them both turn simultaneously. So I'm missing one of those, and that's impossible to find loose. But
what's more harder to find is actually from the jackhammer, the little gray gun that comes with jackhammer.
Yeah,
that one is always missing, and that one actually goes for quite a few bucks on eBay.
Yeah,
right.
Again, I got lucky with that. I bought an incomplete jackhammer. The first jackhammer I bought was incomplete, and it was listed as incomplete, and it was only missing that one. Is it like an anti-aircraft gun or something? It's called. And when I received it, I could hear something rattling inside, and took the top, and it was inside the truck. It wasn't in the compartment, but it was stuck inside, rattling around in the truck. So I took it apart. It was there.
Lucky, very lucky.
Very lucky, yeah.
And with regards to buying something incomplete and then making it complete, I did a full-on restoration of the Gator, which I bought. It was just the shell of the Jeep.
Yeah.
I was able to source all the parts, got some repro stickers, and to me it looks as good as new. And it was done very cheaply.
Yeah. It's strange because I bought an incomplete Gator not long after you did that video, Dean. And that vehicle was by far the hardest for me to attempt to get pieces for. I've done a few incomplete mass vehicles, and that was by far the hardest. I was very lucky in the end. I got gifted a complete one from Chris Smith Lord. He gifted me a complete one. But I found it so difficult to get the pieces, the depth charge especially, so difficult. Yeah. Really
Dean, can you actually zoom in on the Gator? Because I actually have a mystery on a Gator. Because if you look on Gator, the boat.
Yes.
One of my suspicions is because Gator, you have the big round peg in the front, and in the instructions it says it's for the mask or the helmet. But it's the only one that actually has a place for the helmet.
Right.
One of my suspicions is there's supposed to be an engine block there. Or did they ever design it to have an engine block? Because if you look into the cartoon, the boat always has an engine block in the front.
Yeah.
I've never noticed that.
That's a good
the only reason why I know about the mask is when I watched Chris's video on the Gator. I'm sure in that video you put the mask in that section.
That's right.
And I remember thinking, I didn't know that, but I've never noticed that there's an engine there on the cartoon either. So you've taught me something there.
Now, just looking at this image, it looks as if the Dusty in the boat has the long mask, and in the image where he's standing next to the Jeep, that's a short mask.
Looks like it.
No, it's a long mask.
Is it?
It's just at a slight weird angle because you're looking at it.
Yeah, maybe.
Because the back of the mask is longer than the front of the mask, so it's actually leaning a bit forward, so you get a weird angle. It's a long mask version.
Okay.
Yeah, I think there does look like there's holes in the top as well, Dean, doesn't there? Which would suggest it's a long mask.
Let's see.
Just at the back, I think you can see holes. Is that right?
Yeah. Okay, so now moving on, we have the Transformers.
Oh yeah! Wow.
Now, this is a very interesting selection to me because they're still having some of Wave 1 featured. We got some Wave 2, and I'm assuming Wave 3. Is that correct?
I think you're correct there, yeah. With
So it's a mixture of post movie and pre movie. So part is season 2, part is season 3.
And
because I was really astounded to actually still see like Smokescreen and Jazz in this catalog, because those are definitely season 2.
Yeah.
Same like is that First is on there?
Yeah. I'm going to zoom in a second. I just want to give a shout out to Ed5 for a super sticker. Thank you, Ed. Wonderful. Thank you so much. So I guess we'll start up top left. So this looks very interesting to me. And again, I should stress that my interest in Transformers probably expired midway through 1985. So I'm not familiar with this. And this is Metroplex, which is a stunning set. And that's a beautiful one Chris is showing us there. Obviously, Chris is familiar with it. What about Jody? Luke, did you ever have this?
I actually had Metroplex as a kid, and besides it having 3 modes, because technically it could be called a triple changer, it's one of the city bots. What was the whole design for Metroplex was Scramble City, which we'll get to in the next page.
Right.
We actually have the combiners, the Scramble City combines, and they could plug into Metroplex in city mode and even in robot mode.
Yeah,
and it was such a cool toy because you actually not only got 3 different transformations, you also got technically 4 bots, because the little tank was a separate drone. Then all the guns, you could combine the guns into 6 gun, which was a separate bot. And then you got the little black car scamper, which is also a transformable bot. I love Metroplex as a toy and still do.
Yeah, agreed. Great bot.
And I'm assuming if one were to try and acquire one today, there's going to be very hard to get one that's fully complete.
No, not that really, because Metroplex actually got reissued a couple of years back. Well, a couple of years, a decade ago, maybe 2 decades ago. He did get a reissue, so he's not that hard to find.
Oh, okay. He's not even that expensive to get if you compare it to the other ones. Like I think you pay almost twice for a Triptychon from that era if you put it against a Metroplex. Like he's not that popular, it seems. So.
Right.
Yeah, but also Triptychon got re-released, because the one you got, Chris, is actually the re-release, the Platinum.
Right. So number 2 is one that I am very familiar with, which I did have as a child, Jetfire. And what really hurts me the most is I sold my childhood Jetfire back in, I'm going to say 2001 or 2002. And it was absolute mint condition. Box, everything was there, and I had not applied the stickers to it, so the sticker sheet was still there. So somebody back in 2001, 2002 got the most immaculate example of Jetfire, and I believe I sold it for about £150. One of my biggest regrets.
One that I don't have. Always wanted as a kid, never got it. Still don't have it. It's something that I'd love to get. Yeah, I'd love to get one.
I've been looking, but so many of them have turned yellow over the years.
Yeah.
And of course, missing a lot of the armor and whatnot.
Skyfire.
Yeah. So this is an interesting lineup down here.
Yeah.
So, Smokescreen, Inferno, and Jazz. Obviously, I'm familiar with Jazz, but the other 2 I'm not necessarily that familiar with.
So I think
It's
actually,
kind of weird to see
Smoke
Smokescreen still in here and Inferno because they were definitely not in the movie.
Right.
I don't even think they were past movie. Even Jazz wasn't past movie, so he was definitely not in season 3.
Of course,
Although
Jazz
Jazz
was in season
lookalike
3.
did make it.
I think Jazz was in season 3. If you look at the opening episodes, Dark Faces of or 5 Faces of Darkness, Jazz is in there.
That's actually not Jazz because that's from an episode when they are on a racing planet, and it's actually not Jazz. It's
okay.
It's a different species. It's not Jazz.
Okay, I didn't know that. Cool.
I'm going to jump in 1 second. And we have super chat from Toy Connections. Thank you so much. He says, some great toy and game insights here from you fine gentlemen. Thank you for this fun stream and catalog flip through. 86 forever. You've got the touch. Thank you so much. Really do appreciate that.
You got a touch.
Yeah.
You get the power.
So down here, now, is this what Tez refers to as the soap dish Transformers?
Soap dish.
Does he? I've never actually heard him say that. Is that right?
Yeah, I think
Soap
so.
dish. That's great.
Again,
He's weird, Scourge. Scourge is a weird. I actually had him as a kid. I don't know who got it for me. I would have definitely not bought it myself.
no.
I was really disappointed in the toy. It's a really ugly toy.
Yeah. And I'm wondering if Argos maybe had a lot of leftover stock from the previous years, which is why they were.
Scourge and Cyclones are are definitely movie and season 3, season 4.
Yeah.
Starscream is still season 3. Frost, I don't know why Frost is in this line.
Because he's awesome.
Yeah,
He is awesome. That's
Yeah.
true.
So then up here, some pretty awesome Transformers up here, and I'm just curious about price. So Ultra Magnus, £16.95. Fantastic.
A lot of toy for your buck.
Yeah. And again, because I'm not familiar, was it Galvatron?
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
Galvatron.
So did he come? Was there any batteries required for that?
Yep.
Yep, there was.
Right. Requires PP9 battery. Okay.
When I was at school, it was the battery that your friends used to lick for some reason.
Yeah, I don't remember that.
That's 9 volts, right?
Yeah, that was funny in my school, apparently.
Yeah. So I find these to be rather ugly.
Yeah, I find that with most of the movie vehicles like Galvatron, really ugly design, Cub, Hot Rod, Blur, they're just ugly.
Yeah, not cool. We've got the Dinobots.
I always liked Hot Rod.
Dinobots kick ass.
Yeah.
We
So these were basically £10 each.
Where's Swoop?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Flew away.
So we got a lunchbox and flask for £4. Isn't bad. And the Battle Charger Runabout was only £3.45.
Bargain.
Definitely a pocket money toy there.
Cool, but
I don't think we're done. There's more.
There's more trend. Blitzstring.
So
Triple changes.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
Funny that Astro Train is not in this catalog though.
Right. And that's Gobots. So more Transformers. We've got a satchel to take to school.
Yeah.
And this, I'm assuming, is VHS video. So that was only £7.95. So obviously the VHS tapes had come down a lot, because I remember when a commercially bought VHS tape was costing £50-60 in the early 80s. So that's not bad. Now this variety here.
With many on here. But I mean, I've only just got back into Transformers, I guess, but yeah, not hugely familiar with these guys.
Jody or Chris, do you remember these?
Yep, the combiners, the Stunticons and the aerial bots.
Yeah.
I had a full set of aerial bots when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I only had 2 of the Stunticons, unfortunately. I only had Dragstrip and Wild Rider.
Here's
Right.
the other one.
Like I said, the design of these, because they're in Japanese, they're called Scramble City bots.
Okay.
Because both Modemaster and what's his name? They actually are also
Silverbolts.
kind of like triple changes because they form the alt mode, the robot mode. Yeah, you got the Gestalt mode, but they also form like a little base, and you could plug that base into Metroplex or into Triptychon. Well, into Triptychon, they had a little connector. But they're called, in Japanese, they were called Scramble City because you can actually swap all the limbs amongst each other, but also between teams, and you can plug them into Metroplex.
Oh,
It's a
think
really fun design toy-wise.
That's a fun Japanese commercial, I think. Scramble City, something like that. And
It's not only a commercial. There's actually a dedicated standalone movie, Scramble City.
Pretty cool. And finally, we're into some Gobots. I think Gobots were rather unfortunate because they were on the scene first, but then Transformers just really took over. But
They
some
got
of
a bad
these
rap.
Gobots are pretty cool.
They got a bad rap in my school.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were seriously uncool if you had Gobots and everybody else was running around with Transformers.
I mean, but to be fair, number 12 here in robot mode is pretty awful.
I like it. It's kind
Really?
of, yeah, it's kind of, my brother got that during the holiday season. I got another GoBot. And in Porsche mode, he looks awesome. At a robot mode, he's typically, I think I like it more even now than back in the day. This is really retro.
Yeah.
I guess by the same margin, it's a little bit like Ironhide and Ratchet, isn't it? You know, the G1s, you know, no heads.
Right.
I know you can get adaptations, can't you? But
Yeah.
I always found that a little bit strange.
And this is pretty cool, though. Down. So 16 was costing £14.95, and the command center was £18.95. That's not at all bad.
Yeah, did it came with a small robot, or was it just a playset?
No, it didn't.
No, let me see, 17 minifigures not included, so it's just the shell. Yeah.
Cool. So that's the same price as a Galvatron. You get one of these.
Yeah.
Almost. Yeah.
He's actually pretty big because it's you say minifigures, but those are actually real size Gobots you see in this picture.
Right. Yeah. It's pretty neat. And
the design is boring, I think, though. It's very, very boring.
Yeah. But down here, this 19 is pretty nice. And 19 was Gobot winch truck. And this was also battery powered.
Wow.
Pretty cool. And this one, converters, 18 was £14. That's pretty nice as well. So
I don't know if that's the same converters as the other one, but the fun thing about converters is they actually had some of the licenses that other brands didn't have, because they actually the converters, you actually find some smaller scale Robotech items, like one of my first Valkyries, the Veritech fighters, was actually a converter.
Okay, so moving on, this might be the end of it for us. I'm assuming none of this is of any interest. Yeah, although we do have to keep going because Fisher Price was always stuck in amongst the toys for toddlers, and I was always a Fisher Price fan.
Look at that, the Wuzzles, or what were they called again? Those
Gummy bears?
Care Bears?
The Wuzzles? No,
Wuzzles.
not the Care Bears.
Or Wuzzies? Wuzzies? Huh.
Wuzzles, yeah.
From Hasbro.
Yeah.
Care Bears, of course.
Yeah, Care Bears are cool. I still have a fair collection of those
Yeah.
in the other room.
Cabbage Patch Kids. Yeah.
I do remember those. Yeah.
Yeah.
Are those Pound Puppies below that?
I believe they were, yes.
Got one of
Pound
those
Puppies.
too. Yeah.
Yep. And then I saw here we had some She-Ra, Princess of Power.
Mm.
Oh, okay.
So definitely very girly, these toys. And I'm just wondering, do any sort of dedicated Motu fans, do they collect this as part of their Motu collection?
Some of my Motu collecting friends do, and there are those that don't. So there's just the playset, the Crystal Palace you see there.
Yes.
It's the same size as a Grayskull. It pops open, and it looks nice if you have the Snake Mountain, the Crystal Palace, and the Grayskull next to each other. But
cool.
The figures are totally out of scale with your Motu figures, so that wouldn't work for me. So I'm not going for those.
Yeah, Barbie. Again, this was still an era where they were sort of hinting that women's place was in the kitchen.
Yeah. I remember the kitchen at the bottom corner there. Is it my first kitchen or something?
Bluebird.
I remember that one.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
I didn't have it.
No. We've got some electronic games here, which I thought would have been on the first page. The Tommy driving game was pretty cool.
I remember that, definitely, yeah.
Number 8 is called Space Turbo, which I think is pretty neat looking.
Yeah.
Like the look of that.
Did it really work? Did any of you had it and did it work?
No. Well, I had one called Demon Driver, which was basically a mechanical game where the race cars were on a piece of film that was powered by some wheels turning it, and it wasn't what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, I can imagine that you get this gift, you look at the box art and you think Demon Driver or Space Battle from, and you go like, oh, this is awesome. I'm going to be up there in the stars or on the roads. And then you play it and
I'm looking for adventure people and I'm not getting them just yet. Still not. And still not. We've got a Transformers go-kart that looks at things here.
Wow.
That's cool. Yeah,
that's really neat. Number 15 was costing, £27. A lot of money back then.
Who of you guys?
Don't you just love back then when they slapped like labels like Transformers on toys that had nothing to do with it?
Yeah.
Could they have not made that more Porsche-like? Nothing like jazz, does it?
No.
Look at those pool tables.
Cool. I actually had a little tiny pool table. That was actually a lot of fun.
Yeah, I actually had a 6-foot by 3-foot snooker table that I really loved.
Yeah, we had a snooker table. I think we also had a foosball table at one point.
Yeah, and we got these were really cool.
Yeah, because having the red ones.
I remember a friend had one, and if you could really do a nice handbrake turn with these things.
Yes, you could. Yeah.
Yeah. How much were those? Wow, £30 and £53 for the big one. Wow.
Okay, that's
a lot of money. And we're at the end, so I can stop sharing this.
That was awesome, Dean.
That was excellent. Wow.
That was great.
Glad you enjoyed that. So, as I said, we're going to pick 3 gifts. So I guess we'll start with your third most desirable gift. So Jody, from what we saw there, what was your third most desirable gift?
So I would definitely say, because I only had 2 of the Stunticons, so I would definitely say Motor Master and the missing 2 Stunticons.
Okay, and Chris?
My third gift, going by that, would have been this one. This guy right here. That just that just takes me away. You had to put it together, so that's a lot of fun. Once you had it together, you can activate the batteries in order to walk it, and you can do races with it.
Right.
It had lights, and it's awesome. It's as big as Triptychon. They look a lot alike, don't they, Jody?
Yeah.
See what I did there?
Right. And Luke, what was your third pick?
Well, I've changed my mind around 10 times whilst going through that catalogue. So I was going to say, I'm sorry, I'm saying 2 now, wasn't I? I was going to say Jetfire, but something that as well that I didn't have then and I still don't have, I would love Grimlock. I don't have any Dinobots, but I would love Grimlock.
Right.
That would be my third choice.
Yeah. And for me, I'm going to pick.
So cool.
I'm going to pick Test Match.
Yeah.
Because it was a game that actually worked. It did as it was intended, and it actually far beyond what I thought it was going to be. It turned out to be one of these games that really was. It did exactly what it said it was going to do, and it did it well. So that was my third pick. So Jody,
am I right in thinking, Dean? I'm sorry. Sorry,
No,
the
go ahead,
bowling action. Did it have like a track? The guy tipped and it rolled down like a track, and then
the steel ball beating. So the bowler, you could angle the bowler, and then you would tip him, and he would bowl it down. And if you were the batsman, you had the lever to hit. And if you timed it, boom! This ball bearing just shot out. It was fantastic.
I do remember it. Yeah.
Yeah. So Jody, your second pick.
That would be definitely the Thunderhawk, because that one was I never had as a kid the Thunderhawk, and I loved it in the cartoon. And actually, a friend of my brother's had one, and he was unfortunately one of those kids which was not that careful with his toys, because he actually made the Thunderhawk fly.
Oh wow!
Fly. And I was like, "What the fuck?" Even as a kid, like. I can kill you. I won this toy. I've never had this toy. And you're just throwing it around.
Oh, boy.
Shame.
So, Chris, number 2?
Yeah, it has to be Mask, my favorite toy line of all times.
Right.
And I'm really struggling between 2 toys for my second place. The big footprint of Boulder Hill or Rhino. And then I think a vehicle, I can move it around, play around with it. I would have to go for the vehicle. So Rhino is my second place.
Okay, and look, number 2.
Yeah, obviously Mask was a massive thing when we were sort of 6 years old. So very, very much the same as Jody. Number 2 is.
Oh, nice.
Cool.
And,
absolutely love it.
And for me, it was the gift that I was never allowed, and that would be a chemistry set.
Cool.
Simply because the very idea of giving a kid a set that had a Bunsen burner and various chemicals, I mean, what could go wrong?
What can go wrong?
Yeah.
How
So
hard can it be?
yeah. So Jody, what was your number 1 most desirable gift?
So I'm actually going to cheat a little, because I'm going to say a toy which should have been in the catalog, but never got released in Europe.
Oh, sweet.
Man. Oh,
This was
awesome.
the only Dinobot which never got released in Europe back then. And this was my favorite Dinobot.
Okay.
I'm cheating a bit.
No. So, Chris, your favorite gift from that catalog?
I'm still thinking. Luke, you'll go first.
Okay, look.
Yeah, no, mine's pretty easy. Again, I'm going Mask. It's something that I remember playing with a lot as a kid with Thunderhawk, and obviously it's now in my collection, but it's the backstory that it comes with as well. So my number 1 is Switchblade.
Oh wow!
Whenever I look at this in my collection, obviously now it takes on that extra meaning because of how I got it. I was very, very kindly gifted it by Dave at Vintage Toy Rush. So yeah, it's quite special this to me. So yeah, Switchblade.
Right. And back to Chris.
Well, struggling between 2 things I saw in the catalog, and one thing we didn't get to see because it's further back. I think it's on page 180 or 193. Those typical MIDI audio sets from the 80s, where you get a cassette deck, an LP player on top, with those speakers, and that is so 80s for me. So when I was going through the catalog before the show, I was like, oh man, I would have loved to have that, because all I got was a small little record player that you clicked open, and the top was a speaker, and I can put my little singles on that. So I was already into music then, but I loved cars as a kid, and the coolest cars at the time weren't masks for me. Those were the Stunticons. So I
Ah,
would have loved
Wow.
everyone that's in here.
right.
Yeah,
And
really cool. Good one.
and I went for the big one. I would have liked to have had Boulder Hill.
Cool.
That was my top choice.
You will
So-
cave, Dean. You'll cave.
Yeah, eventually.
You will
Yeah, yeah. Well, I already caved with my Motu Origins. I'd said all along, I'm only going to get the figures, and then I said I won't get any deluxe figures. And deluxe figures started coming into my collection, then vehicles and whatnot. So yeah, I probably will cave.
Yeah.
So that was the first segment, and that's taken us. Wow, we're well behind. So I'm going to go on to the next segment, and I'll just run the quick intro. And that actually was the BBC One ident from 1986 at Christmas time. So, because last year I did the Christmas countdown looking at every decade, and I looked at what was broadcast on Christmas Day, today we're going to take a look at what was broadcast on Christmas Eve in 1986. So, I'm just going to share the screen, and we can quickly talk about what the BBC was serving up on Christmas Eve, 1986. So at 6 a.m., things started with a bit of CFAX, which, as I explained during Iconicon, was, I guess it was like the first ever internet in a way.
Yeah.
Where
Yes,
if you had a fancy TV, you could punch in page numbers on your remote control to get various bits of information. So I guess this was just running it automatically to sort of show you what, if you didn't have a CFAX TV, to show you what you were missing out on.
Yeah.
News, which was followed by the Flintstones, which is pretty awesome.
Okay.
Bit of weather. Breakfast time with Frank Boff and Jeremy Paxman.
Jeremy Paxman.
Yeah. I seem to recall a story about Frank Boff, who gave the impression of being this like really sort of homely, down-to-earth guy, but he had a secret life of cocaine and prostitutes, apparently.
Oh, wow.
Bit more news and weather, and then we're into the kids stuff. So we had Paddington Christmas. I have this memory of not really enjoying Paddington Bear too much.
It was never something I watched.
No.
For me at all. I would definitely tune in to play chess, though.
Yeah, play chess I enjoyed. And I actually remember sending away for the little booklet, which was basically a photocopied, it was like photocopied pages that had been stapled together. I think you had to send away a stamped addressed envelope or something. Babar and Father Christmas, which is, I believe it's a cartoon about elephants. I do not remember that. Anyone?
No.
Yeah,
I
I think I've seen
so.
Babar. I think I've seen Babar on BBC. It was never my partake, but yeah, it's an anthropomorphic elephant.
No, it was never something I watched, but yeah, it was about an elephant.
Yeah. And
Very childish. So very aimed at very, very small kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This appears to be Jack and Ori, which I always found to be a bit boring as a kid, which was just someone reading a story.
Yeah.
Not one of my favorites. A bit more news and weather. Then we had Neighbours.
Oh, that was Christmas. Yeah, Neighbours.
Jason Donovan, Kylie.
Yeah,
No.
I think this would have been the first year that we got Neighbours, because it's shown here at 10:05 in the morning, and it's again repeated. But laterally, I remember it being shown at 1 in the afternoon and again at 5:30.
Yeah, it was around that time. I remember it always being on after children's TV after school. Yeah, and was it followed by Home and Away was on another channel? But it was
that was
always
ITV.
was it you watched one then the other? Yeah.
Yeah. Then we had children's BBC with Philip Schofield.
Oh yeah.
So I guess he would have been talking away for 5 minutes. Then we had Play School, which was very much for small children.
Yeah.
Not something that I really watched after I was 5 years old.
Mm.
Henry's Cat, the Christmas dinner.
Do you remember
no.
Henry's Cat?
Don't know
Remember
that.
Henry's Cat?
Yeah.
I only know Cool Cat. Don't know Henry's Cat.
Yeah. 5 to 11 with
I remember
Joanna
DJ
Lumley.
the Cat.
DJ Cat. I mean
Yeah.
DJ Cat. Yeah.
I'm guessing again, must have been maybe a short story that was read by Joanna Lumley.
Oh.
More news. There was a lot of news and weather
news.
on Christmas Eve. It's like never ending. Now this Keith and Orville's Christmas Circus,
Oh,
which I think would have been awful.
Orville used to scare me.
Oh,
Yeah.
I've tried to watch a little bit of Keith Harris and Orville, and it's just excruciating to try and get through. It's so annoying, and even the guest stars I'm not really familiar with. So obviously, Cuddles was, I think it was the monkey that Keith Harris operated.
Yeah, huge long arms.
Dippy, I don't remember.
They couldn't even be bothered with the characters down there. It all says unknown.
Yeah, and but it says here special guest star Dana, also featuring Eli Woods, Ronnie Brody, and Los Martinos. I don't recall those.
No, they're not
No.
familiar.
No clue.
No.
Cartoon was The Tender Tale of Cinderella Penguin. 10 minutes worth, not very good. Junior Kickstart was fantastic.
Yeah, I used to love Kickstart. Yeah, great show.
Actually, to be fair, I much preferred the adult Kickstart because those they did much more sort of daring obstacles, whereas the kids version was a bit easy, shall we say?
Mm.
Yeah.
I don't know, Jody, Chris, do you know what Kickstart was?
Is that something like going live in an earlier or format or?
No, this was actually basically motorcycles with like motocross bikes that had to go over these obstacle courses, and there would be like dirt tracks and things for them to try and complete the course in the fastest time. Obviously, as kids, seeing motorbikes go over these ramps and dirt tracks was great viewing for a kid.
Oh.
So this was the junior Kickstart. So this was like other kids on motorbikes doing these same things. A Song for Christmas. Special guest star was Elaine Page, and it was hosted by Philip Schofield. I don't imagine I would have been into this too much.
No.
Nah. More news and weather.
Here now the news.
Yeah. More news.
Followed by the 9
It's nothing but news. Then we've got a repeat of Neighbours that we just saw earlier in the day.
Yeah.
Little Mrs. I'm wondering, was that like a female version of the Mr. Men?
I think it's related to that other cartoon with the little misters, or what's it called?
Yeah, the Mr. Men. We had like Mr. Happy and Mr. Tickle and all that.
Oh.
Yeah. Rolf Harris Cartoon Time. Special seasonal edition featuring 3 classic Christmas cartoons. That's Bedtime for Sniffles, Mr. and Mistletoe, and The Night Before Christmas. Would have been okay, I guess. The movie was The Wizard of Oz.
Oh, yeah.
Which I think was probably a pretty good choice for a Christmas movie. I'm just going to jump in here 1 second to say thank you to Daniel Dorian for the super chat. A famous thing from BBC Christmas '86.
Yeah.
Happy Christmas. Was it Ange? Oh, yeah. Was that
a little bit of Dirty
Tenders?
Den. A little bit of Dirty Den there, yeah.
Dirty Den.
Yeah.
Very nice. Well, thank you, Daniel. Very kind. And so Wizard of Oz was a big... That would be like a gather the family round and watch it together type thing. Then we had... now, I've got to be careful how I read this. Daffy Duck Hunt, and the Iceman Ducketh. Don't say that too fast.
A great title.
Yeah.
It's better than the news.
Box of Delights was the sort of period drama for kids, as I recall. It was pretty interesting. Jim will fix it, and some of these wishes are rather odd. So, dear Jim, please can I... So one kid wanted to collect the Trafalgar Square Christmas tree One kid wanted to run a baby clinic.
Okay.
Another kid wanted to find Aladdin's lamp. And one kid wanted to be a Christmas parcel. Absolutely bizarre. But
There
Okay,
you
which
go.
of that,
It's
which of that did you
weird.
send in, Luke?
Wow.
yeah. And would you believe it? We've got more news.
No.
Wow.
Regional news. Now, this one is being advertised as Mr. Mum, starring Michael Keaton, but the movie was made as Mr. Mom,
Right.
which I had to look up the trailer for this. It looks like a fun, sort of silly kind of family movie.
I don't know. This one has Batman in it, so
Yeah,
It's a little bit sort of like a poorer version of Mrs. Doubtfire now, I guess, or something.
basically, yeah. Yeah. From what I could gather, he was the breadwinner. He lost his job, so then his wife goes out to work. He has to look after the kids and take care of the house.
Right.
And of course, all sorts of shenanigans take place. It looked fun. Child Watch update with Esther Ranson. So I guess she ran a charity, I believe, that would help, abused children. And I guess this was like an update.
Yeah.
Now, this was the two Ronnies, but it's actually a repeat of the Christmas special from 2 years prior.
All right.
So I'm not
those were
sure.
fun still.
Yeah, I'm not sure why they didn't make a new one for this year, but regardless,
I think
anything with the
the
two
two
Ronnies is great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did enjoy the two Ronnies.
Yeah. More news.
Christmas Eve sounds terrible.
Oh,
Yeah.
an episode of Dallas.
And then we had to watch Dallas to boot. Wow.
Yeah, with was it Patrick Duffy, Linda Gray, and Larry Hagman.
Yeah.
Terry Wogan. And he had the actors of Dallas on. So I guess this was like when Dallas was in its prime and everyone was watching it. So a couple of
Was this
actors.
when Dallas and Dynasty were always?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Now, this was a classic, Christmas with Val Doonican. I always remember getting to stay up late to watch this. And he was sort of good sort of family entertainment, as I recall. And then we have the first Mass of Christmas from Clifton Cathedral and finishing up with a bit of weather. And that was it. So, in all honesty, it wasn't.
Heck of a lot of news.
Yeah. I'm going to say that wasn't really the best ever schedule of TV, to be honest.
No, there wasn't a huge amount in there that jumped out at me to watch.
Not really. Although, to be fair, as a kid, I would have been high as a kite the whole day thinking about Christmas the following day.
Yeah,
So
I don't think we'll have been thinking about TV, but Kickstart. Kickstart, definitely.
Yeah. So do you guys have any sort of memories of TV at Christmas time you want to share? Or?
Go ahead, Jody. If you.
Yeah, it's I actually have a really poor long-term memory, so nothing would stand out for me at the moment.
I love the musical shows. We often got those repeats from America, and I love to watch those. Andy Williams, Christmas with the Family.
Oh, yes.
We got those. I remember we've been watching all year a DVD at my grandparents' house, Chevy Chase National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. And of course, we would watch it around those Christmas days as well. So that's a great movie that always dropped by every year. Yeah.
So,
and cartoons.
Yeah. Luke, anything that you remember from Christmas TV?
The main thing that I used to remember was Christmas Eve, but it's kind of a positive yet a negative, because we always used to be allowed to stay up to watch the Christmas Mass.
Yeah.
Purely because we were allowed to stay up a little bit later because it was Christmas Eve. But then the minute it got, we weren't allowed to stay up past midnight, obviously. So it was great that we could stay up late, but the minute we saw the Christmas Mass, we knew we've got to go to bed now. So it was kind of bittersweet, but I do remember that vividly. We were always allowed to stay up until sort of 11:30, but then once that hit bedtime, we're never allowed to get past that 12 o'clock mark.
Okay, so we're going to move on to the next segment, and I'll just run that
more
intro. Oh yeah. So
Last Christmas, I
we're
gave
going
you
to
my-
take a look at what was riding high on the hit parade on Christmas Day in 1986. And I'm very sad to report this is not a very good top 10.
Oh, no.
It's
Oh, my.
actually, if I'm being honest, it's absolutely terrible considering this was the Christmas top 10 in 1986. So,
Really?
yeah. So, in at number 10, Living on a Prayer by Bon Jovi.
Yeah.
I like the song, but
I was
it's
just
not
going to
what I
say,
would,
yeah.
it's not what I would, when I hear the song, I don't think of Christmas, put it that way.
No.
Yeah.
No, definitely a good song. Yeah, definitely a good song. But no, I
Yeah.
wouldn't
No.
associate it with Christmas. No.
No. This is a song I'm not familiar with. Shake You Down by Gregory Abbott.
Don't know it.
No,
Nope.
no,
Never heard of it.
That's
No.
all.
Alison Moyet with Is This Love?
Oh,
I
yeah.
remember Alison Moyet, but this song is not ringing any bells.
Is this love? Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah.
Is this love?
Who knows?
Yeah, I think I know it.
Number 7, Aha with Cry
Ah.
Wolf.
That's a great song. Yeah.
It's a great song,
I
but
remember that
again,
Not Christmas.
not Christmas. And what I'm finding odd is I have assembled 4 hours worth of Christmas music, and a lot of it are pop songs, but there are no Christmas songs here. So this is The Rain by Orange Juice Jones. Who?
Yeah, I'm drawing total blanks.
I no idea.
I mean, I know that's her and Alison Moyet. I do recognise that
Yeah.
song now.
Now,
Actually, but
Erasure and Sometimes.
Yeah.
I know this one.
yeah, I actually really enjoy Erasure, but again, I wouldn't necessarily associate with Christmas.
No, Madonna with Open Your Heart.
Great song, but yeah.
Yeah. Number 3, The Final Countdown by Europe.
Yeah,
That's associated more with the New Year, isn't it?
I was going to say exactly that.
it is.
Number 2, The House Martins with Caravan of Love.
All right.
Yeah. I don't know the song.
Am I right in saying that when Tez was on Cheggers Plays Pop, the House Martins were the band in the studio?
I
Possibly.
couldn't tell you.
I'm not
Couldn't tell
sure.
you.
And number 1 at Christmas in 1986
Rumble.
was Reet Petite by Jackie Wilson.
Yeah, that's a cool clip, but it's what chart is this? Well, is this from Top of the Pops chart or what?
No, this was the UK singles chart.
Okay, yeah. So we get
This
from-
was
okay.
this was what they called the Christmas top 10.
Yeah.
So obviously,
Well, you usually find specific songs by artists specifically made for Christmas, don't you? You know, they used to do
that's it.
Christmas songs.
and in actual
wow.
fact, if you go down further, it took me to get to number 22, which was a Spitting Image parody song called Santa Claus is on the Dole.
Okay.
That's the first time to get a Christmas song. I have no idea what happened in 1986, but that was a truly awful Christmas top 10.
That's
Wow.
horrible.
Mhm.
Rubbish. It's rubbish.
Rubbish indeed.
If you didn't know that was at Christmas, you wouldn't look at that top
No.
10 and think
No,
it's all, is it?
because-
This is around Christmas time.
and it was
Top of the
always
Pops made up for it, didn't they?
oh yeah. Top of the
okay.
Pops had their Christmas special on Christmas Day, which I think was before the Queen's speech. And they had the best songs of the year. And the studio was just all Christmas trees and tinsel. It was beautiful. But that was an awful top 10. And I think the reason Reet Petite was number 1 was because it featured in a commercial for jeans.
Reet Petite
Yeah,
for jeans?
right.
No, that was Nick Cayman. Was
Nick
that?
Cayman.
Nick
Yeah,
Cayman.
yeah, that's correct. I think that's right. But I always think of 80s Christmas songs, like obviously Band-Aid and Wham. But sadly, 86, that was not the year for Christmas songs to be hitting the top 10.
No Buble. Yeah.
And they always made a big deal about who would be the Christmas number 1. And, well, there you have it. Not very good at all. So the less said about that top 10, the better. So we're going to move into our last segment. which will be self-explanatory when I hit this video. So this is a chance for you to share your favorite memories of Christmas. Does not need to be 1986. Can be some of your fondest memories, or could be anything that pertains to Christmas. So whoever wants to go first, tell us your favorite Christmas memory.
Do you want to go, guys?
Not all at once.
Yeah. Well, I'll go first then. Surprisingly, this is not. Well, I say toy. In theory, it's a toy, but not action figure based or anything like that. Probably one of my favourite and most vivid memories of Christmas is the Christmas when my brother got the Mighty Metro Scale Extra set. And I remember that year we would what do you want for Christmas? You'd pick out what you called your big present, if you like. His was Scale Extra, and I wanted, and they'd just come out at the time, and I don't know if anyone will recall these. It was a cross between a scooter and a BMX. So in essence, it was the shape of a scooter. You stood on it like a scooter, but it had mini BMX wheels, mini BMX mag wheels. And the one that I wanted, it was pink. I remember it was pink and yellow, and it was called the Rad Rat. And it had this crazy picture of a cartoon-style rat on the front of it, and it fantastic. And I remember I didn't think I'd got it. My brother got his Scale Extra, and we opened all our presents, and we were finished, and it was nowhere in sight. And then my dad asked me to go upstairs I can't remember what it was. He wanted me to grab something from the back bedroom, and as I walked in there to get it, it was stood there with a big ribbon on it and Merry Christmas. I just remember it so vividly, and I had so much fun. I rode it, I think, until quite literally the wheels wouldn't work anymore, but absolutely loved it. Yeah, really did. So that's probably one of my fondest Christmas memories.
Very nice. I'm going to jump in and say big thank you to Ed5 for the super chat. And he says, no Christmas songs because 86 was the year of the fox. And I'm assuming you're meaning Samantha Fox, which was, as a 12-year-old boy, it was a very interesting time. And so who else wants to share a fond memory of Christmas?
Okay. Well, I kind of do have to cheat here because Christmas is not that big here in the Netherlands. We have St. Nicholas on December 5th.
Okay.
So that was the big thing over here. That was our Christmas. And what I was always loved as a kid is on St. Nicholas Day, we actually would go to my grandma. And very close to my grandma, there was a big church or community building. And there you could actually meet St. Nicholas and sit on his lap. And there were all these black Pete's dancing around. Yeah, and after you come back from there, you come back to grandma's place. And we were sitting in the living room, and all of a sudden you hear a loud noise and knocking. So we go run and see what's there. And you find a big bag of presents.
Cool. Yeah.
I'm just going to jump in here and say a huge thank you to Tree Theodore.
Wow.
And his Dutch girlfriend introduced him to Hutspot and, excuse my pronunciation, Gehakt Ballen.
Almost.
Oh.
Hutspot and gehaktballen.
To get into the spirit. But seeing the four of you is fantastic. Congratulations, all things 80s on your... Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate those kind words. Chris, go ahead.
Yeah, to answer Scuba Pete's question, Christmas has gotten bigger in the Netherlands. Our family, my dad, from when he was young, they already celebrated Christmas big. So we were brought up more with Christmas than the 5 December feast before. And what I remember, and there's a video about that on my channel with old VHS footage where you see me as a kid getting the gifts and the family around. First Christmas Day, we went over to my grandparents. My uncles and aunties were there, and me and my brother. And We had good food to eat. There were all these classic Christmas songs we listened to from Bing Crosby, Dean Martin, Sinatra, all the classics. And then they did surprises where they, build each other a gift hidden inside these surprises. And that was the first year, 86, that me and my brother were sort of allowed to have a surprise too, in which was hidden a He-Man figure. And I remember I got the Warlock from Brave Star that year in 86 as well. So that's great. And after we had the toys, we went eating again. There's a lot of eating at Christmas time.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
then we going into the back room in my grandparents' house and laid out all the toys on the table and had a big lot of fun with those toys. So family memories, toy memories, the music, it all comes together. And I'm so lucky that my dad filmed it on VHS so I can rewatch them. And I'm going to my parents tomorrow to visit them, and I'm bringing along a DVD with a lot of those VHS digitized holiday things, and we're going to watch through them.
Wow.
So that's great fun.
Wow.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I just realized I didn't actually prepare for this, and I have to do this 4 or 3 more times, but I could do something right here. So I don't know how well this is coming across on camera, but I have a lot of decorations still that I remember from my childhood, one of which right here. And the story behind this, I don't know how well you can see that. If I can make this one big momentarily. This one here. So this must have been late 70s, very early 80s that my mom and I were decorating the tree. And for whatever reason, the little hook on this decoration had broken off. So she decided to use some extra tinsel to make a hoop, as you can see here. But what makes this really special to me is it still has bits of the spray-on snow that I applied from a little aerosol can when I was probably 6 or 7 years old. And just seeing that again, but when I decorate the tree every year, there are a lot of these decorations that have this, or so many memories are connected to it. I mean, for example, another one, this is a classic sort of 70s, 80s style bauble, which is it's like a disco mirror ball with the various little hexagonal shapes in it. And when I'm doing the decorations, I get so emotional because I'm touching the same bauble that I touched when I was 5 or 6 years old.
Wow. Yeah.
And the memories just come flooding back. I mean, I'll maybe put some pictures on Twitter, but I have decorations that belong to my grandma. So we're talking like 1960s that I've held on to.
Wow.
And so I'm really proud to have held on to these things, because obviously I've sold all my Star Wars toys from childhood, etc. But the fact that I have things still in my possession that hold so many great memories, I am so thankful to have those. So that's one of my memories.
Amazing, Dean. Wow.
Yeah, I don't think I've got anything. I mean, it's so nice to hear things like that, because most of the things when it comes to Christmas or in this room, I unfortunately never held on to anything from my childhood. I think when I look around, I think the only thing I managed to keep hold of from when I was a kid was my original VHS Star Wars tapes. The ones that I was watching sort of through the 80s, they're the only things I think I've kept hold of. Everything else got shipped off to either other kids, friends, whatever, or car boot sales and things, unfortunately.
I'm going to jump in here.
I think I still have 1 or 2 ornaments which we used to have as a kid. So at my place, we always had 2 Christmas trees. One, my mom always decorated in the living room, the big Christmas tree, because she was more like classic Christmas tree, silver, red, gold. And then we had this little Christmas tree always in the kitchen, and that was the kids' Christmas tree. So me and my brother just could go wild on that and decorate it ourselves.
Yeah. I'm going to jump in here and give a big thank you to Brendan Haley.
Hi,
Thank you so much, Brendan.
Hey,
He
Brendan.
said, It's a 1,000-kilometer road trip to grandparents in non-air conditioned car in the middle of early summer.
Oh.
Driving in day to avoid hitting kangaroos, then Christmas Day singing of snow on a 35-degree day. Again, no air conditioning.
What's more Christmassy than that?
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you, Brendan. But you know what? It's not similar at all, but there was one time we were in Thailand and we actually arrived. We were flat. We left on New Year's Eve from New York. So when we were flying, it turned into New Year when we were in the sky. But when we got to Thailand, they still had all the Christmas decorations up. And I was at this beautiful shopping mall with, shorts and T-shirt, standing next to this Christmas tree in, I guess, in Celsius, like 35, 40-degree heat. I'm thinking, this just does not seem right, because to me, Christmas is about ice and snow being wrapped up.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure I could get used to being in a warm climate at Christmas. It just wouldn't. Yeah, you wouldn't get the same feel, I dare say.
No, and they were playing all the classic Christmas songs, but it did not feel like Christmas at all. It was very strange.
Although that's one thing I miss about nowadays Christmas, and that's snow on Christmas Day. We haven't had snow on Christmas Day for forever in the Netherlands.
That's weird, right? Because if you, by memory, I have the idea that every Christmas was full of snow back in the 80s, but that's just my memory, of course.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like that, I suppose. But we did have a lot more snow in December, Christmas back in the 80s in the Netherlands. Is there any snow there now, Luke, where you are?
We've had, last couple of days, we have had some snow where I am. It's not actually snowed today, but yesterday it snowed quite heavily, and one day last week as well. But in recent years, we've had snow in like May, which is just crazy. I can't remember the last time it's actually snowed on Christmas Day, but we have had snow on Christmas Day. Does that make sense? It didn't actually snow on Christmas Day, but we've had snow because it's snowed previously. But yeah, we have had some in the last couple of days as well.
We've had some truly bizarre Christmas weather lately. A couple of years back, it was so warm on Christmas Day here that we actually went out and I just wore a shirt like this, no problem. And then the following year, it was absolutely freezing.
Strange.
It is strange, but there's something to be said about having snow on the ground and seeing people all wrapped up, buying their Christmas gifts. It does set the scene.
Yeah. What's your guys' favorite Christmas song? Do you have one that pops to mind right now?
Oh, well, you see, again, this is the thing about Christmas. You see, obviously, my whole thing on YouTube is reliving memories of the 80s. And some of my best memories do evolve around Christmas. And whilst it's not necessarily my favorite song, one song that always hits me, and I have to normally excuse myself, so I'm not, because I'm bawling away, but When a Child is Born, sung by Johnny Mathis.
Oh, wow.
Because Johnny Mathis was one of my mum and dad's favorite singers. And when I hear that song, one, I think of them, I think of Christmas as a kid, and it just gets way too much for me sometimes. It really does set me off. But yeah, I wouldn't say it's my favorite, but it's one that holds a lot of weight for me.
Beautiful, Dean. Beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm a great singer. Yeah.
Oh, yes. Yeah. And actually, obviously, I'm sure you all know, my mom died, and in fact, she died on the same day as Lemmy from Motorhead. So what a day that was. And then my dad 2 years ago. So when cleaning out the house, I brought back their Christmas CD. And of course, when I put that on, that set me off. But obviously, CDs don't last forever. And that one was beginning to skip a few tracks. So I made my own playlist. And it's almost 4 hours long. And some of the music is just fantastic. There's one song, I think the band is called The Waitresses or something. And the song is probably Merry Christmas. This song has one of the most amazing bass lines you will ever hear. It puts John Taylor of Duran Duran to shame. There's bends and all sorts going on. It's such an upbeat song.
I will check it out.
Yeah. But I don't know. So what are some of your favorite Christmas songs?
You want to go?
Sorry, me?
Yeah, go ahead, mate.
All right, okay. I think probably the one song that makes me feel Christmassy and think of Christmas the most, and I think it's quite a sad song, really. Fairy Tale of New York. Is it the Pogues?
Oh yeah, with Kirsty MacColl.
Yeah. That for me, the minute I hear that and the intro, and I feel Christmassy. I mean, I think when you listen to the lyrics, it's quite a sad song, isn't it? But for me, it makes me feel like Christmas when I hear that.
Yeah. So I'm just bringing this up here. So Keith Knight tells us the song is "Christmas Wrapping" by the Waitresses. That's the one with the bass line. It's fantastic.
Awesome.
Yep, and Zantara has confirmed. Yes, the Waitresses' Christmas song is hilarious, upbeat sound, but it goes "Merry Christmas." Merry Christmas, but I think I'll miss this one this year. Yep, that's the one indeed. Chris, you have a favorite Christmas song?
I have a few favorites, and what I remember and have good memories of, which is McCartney with Once Upon a Long Ago with the animation clip.
Oh, yeah.
And if you still remember, and that's very pretty. And I remember with this fun song George Harrison did, Ding Dong, Ding Dong, where he's in this different outfits. That's a real funny Christmas. So not the prettiest song, but it's a fun clip. And a song that's really beautiful, I think, is by Mike Oldfield, On Horseback.
Mm-hmm.
That always got me mesmerizing going back to those times. How about you, Jody?
Yeah, I don't really... Like I said, Christmas has never been really big in my life, especially as a child. Also, as a child, I didn't listen to radio that much. The most music I've listened to as a child was either cassettes from my mom with 60s rock, or my mom had a huge collection of those mini LPs, the mini vinyls, and I had my own little mini vinyl player, and so it's all predominantly 60s, 70s music. Predominantly rock and roll from my mom's collection, what I listened to back then.
Do you have a favorite Saint Nick song from 5 December, a Sinterklaasliedje? And do you want to sing it for us?
Sinterklaas kapoentje, poep maar in mijn schoentje.
This comment here makes me laugh. This is from Smuggler's Canyon.
I was just reading that myself, Dave.
He thought Luke's favorite was the absolute chart banger by Cliff Richard, On the Saviour's Day. Now, I think I'm right in saying that was indeed Christmas number one, but it was knocked off the number one spot by Iron Maiden.
All right.
With Bring Your Daughter to the Slaughter.
Of course.
Why she did it.
Yeah. I actually saw an interesting comment now. I think it came from Tim at Bosk's Bounty. He thought this was all green screen.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Really? No, this was...
Speaking of Cliff Richards, there's one of my favorite songs from 1986, actually, I believe. And that's Cliff Richard and the Young Ones, Living Doll.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, it was about 86, wasn't it? Yeah. Great show.
Now, whilst it's not a great song per se, I am quite partial to Band-Aid. Do They Know It's Christmas?
Yeah.
Just because I remember everything about it, which was on the Sunday, on the 9 o'clock news, they had the article telling us that all these musicians got together to do this song, and it would be available to purchase, the following week. And at the time, I was very much a big Duran Duran fan. So seeing Simon Le Bon singing and John Taylor and all them, I thought, I got to get this. But the B-side was hilarious because it was all these stars giving out a Christmas message. And I remember, I'm sure it'll be on YouTube, but Paul McCartney was very flippant with his message. I thought, that's a bit... he was like, Merry Christmas, feed the world, blah, blah, blah.
Mecca.
But yeah, that's that to me is a very sort of special Christmas song, and also it was for a great charity, so everyone bought into it. However, some of the remakes they did over the years are not quite so good, obviously.
Agreed.
The one with Kylie Minogue, Jason Donovan, Bros, I can tolerate, but the ones after that are just horrible.
Yeah.
Really bad. I'm just going to, I guess I'll take the last sort of few minutes to see if anyone has any questions for the guys on screen here. Daniel says that, damn, Lemmy will be 6 years dead this month. Yeah, the time
No
has
way. Really?
absolutely flown by.
Yeah. I'm happy to answer any questions as long as it's not from smugglers.
We've got a lot of chat about Metallica, which is interesting.
Yeah. Enjoy some Metallica,
Yeah.
Scuba Pete.
Here we go. Scuba says...
Medikalikimaka is the thing to say.
Yeah. So Luke, can you tell me, do you follow the current pop charts in the UK?
Absolutely not. Not in any way, shape, or form.
So
I generally listen to music that I grew up listening to with my dad. When I was a bit younger, I maybe would have done, but in the end, now as an adult, I listen to everything I used to listen to. When my mum and dad split, when me and my brother were 9, he used to come and collect us from where we lived and take us to his house. We'd have a weekend with him, and it was always the music that was on in the car. So I now listen to a lot of Motorhead, Iron Maiden, AC/DC, a little bit Deep Purple. People like System of a Down, which is a bit more modern. Supertramp a little bit creeps in there. Fleetwood Mac, I'm a big fan of. So mostly heavy stuff. Yeah,
I was asking because I was just curious if there were any Christmas songs that were heading for the Christmas #1 this year, but
I couldn't tell you. I have no idea. No idea. No, I very rarely listen to anything modern. The only time I heard anything that you could argue was in the current charts is when I was in the office at work, and we haven't been in there now for over a year through lockdown.
Right.
So because they had the radio on, which was current, but no interest in current music.
Now, I could be wrong on this, but I think that Wham's Last Christmas came out the same year as Band-Aid. And as a result, obviously, Band-Aid went straight to the #1 spot for Christmas. I think I heard that Wham! Last Christmas hit #1 last year. Is that true?
Again, I couldn't tell you. I don't really take any notice of say the current charts. So
got to feel bad for Wham because they probably thought up until mid-November they were guaranteed that Christmas #1.
Yeah,
because it's a damn good song.
Yeah,
of course.
Well, George was in Band-Aid, so he's got that #1 anyway. But
he's still got This is from Zantara. Thank you so much. He says, I remember New Year's Eve, 86, and my dad asking me if I was excited about the new year. I said no. I wanted it to stay 1986. How prophetic I was. 1986 rules. There are, I'm sure most of us, if we could, would go back and stay in a particular year.
Oh, yeah.
I think it was probably a particular decade for me. It's a strange one for me because I was literally I was born in 79, and you should never wish your life away, but every so often I think I wish I was born slightly earlier because I could have appreciated the 80s even more than what I did. By the time I felt I was really appreciating it, it was the 90s, we were coming out of it. So I wish I was a tiny bit older through the 80s.
I think that's why I feel quite fortunate in as much as, so when 1980 came around, I would have turned 6 in 1980. So I got to enjoy all the cool toys and all the great music. I think had I been born any earlier, I would have been too old for the great toys. If I'd been born later, like you say, Luke, you were probably too young to fully appreciate the decade as a whole. So I think I've done quite well for myself being born in 74.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. My love for the 80s came in the 90s because I started to get of an age where I was starting to look back, even in my sort of early 20 and early 20s. I already then started to sort of look back at the 80s and just the great toys and things like that. And it's strange really, because I didn't start seriously collecting until around 10 years ago, which is very late. I mean, a lot of you guys have been doing it a hell of a lot longer than that. But Rachel started my collection. She bought me I think it was a lightsaber for a birthday gift, and that kind of turned into what you see in the room now. So it's strange.
Well, believe it or not, that's us hit the 2-hour mark. That has just flown by.
My.
So, if you haven't already done so, check out the links in the description of this video to subscribe to these guys' amazing channels.
Thank you.
And I want to say to you guys, thank you so much for coming on to this, the
Pleasure.
first ever
Pleasure.
Christmas live stream. It's been absolutely fantastic. Loved hearing all your stories, all your memories. And
thoroughly enjoyed it, Dean. Thank you. Yeah.
Cheers, mate. Cheers.
yeah, and Jody has a fun fact.
Oh, I do like fun facts.
Yeah. So these are some of Jody's videos.
All right.
So-
Yeah. Cool.
As I said, if you haven't already done so, go to these channels, subscribe and watch. Thank you everyone who watched. I apologize I couldn't get to your comments. As you could see, this was a very sort of interactive stream and just not possible this time. Thank you for those generous super chats. And all I can say is there's more to come. We're doing this again next week. But in the meantime, I will say good night for now. And thank you all for tuning in. See you next time.